The information is there, almost like you turn on the faucet and the water will be there. That's the impression I'm getting. It's kind of like they have a normal option for you and then like a wild woman option. I definitely get the feeling that the answer is yes.
I guess I'm curious about like for you as a psychic, do you consider the messages that you receive from like spirit guides, or is this like some other dimensional plane that you're receiving the messages through? How would you describe that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say I think of it as spirit guides, and also I was raised in a new age family where I saw channelers when I was, I don't know, 8 or 10.
Mhm.
So I've always been around all kinds of alternative things. But for me, the information I receive, it could be coming from another dimension, but that's not how I experience it. I just experience it as information that comes to me. And sometimes it's very clear it's a such and such spirit guide of a certain person or an animal that they feel connected to, or a departed loved one. And
Okay.
then at other times, it may also depend on how close that person is to their spirit guides or what type of confirmation they need.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. And my intention too is that, like, I'm connecting with whatever is the highest and best good for you to know. And so the other way I think of it is my highest self is communicating with your highest self.
Mm,
And also in line with that, I can't see information that you don't want to know, or that you're not at this point wanting to have in your life.
oh,
So
wow.
for
Okay.
example, yeah, I will there will be times where either someone will ask a question, as I can tell them a little bit, and then I'm like, sorry, like the rest is up for you to fill in the blanks. Or
Mm,
it's just information that it would seem like maybe they would want to ask, but I can't see anything. Like a lot of times with
mhm,
health issues that will come up, or people wondering
mhm,
like, how much time does my mom have left? When the person wants to know, I get a number before they even ask the question. And when they don't want to
mm.
know, I have no clue.
Wow. Okay. That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you clarifying that.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. And do you have a certain area of life you want us to delve into today, or do you want to just see where things go?
I think I just want to see where things go.
Okay, cool. All right, let's do it.
Okay.
I'll start leading us through a guided meditation, and feel free to do whatever makes you feel comfortable and relaxed. So, if you'll take in a deep breath, with your next deep breath, calling in all of your energy, all of your attention, all of your resources, all of your consciousness. So, if there were things earlier in the day or earlier in this week that had some of your attention to, and lists you had to remember, or whatever the tasks that you had to do, releasing all of that mental energy that was a little bit maybe residually on the multitasking or in the responsibilities, and just bringing that all into this present moment, all into right now. It's interesting. I can usually, when I do this, I can tell that that's really needed for people, but I get the sense already right now. And so I just want to speak it out, that it feels that you actually are very good at being focused in your life. I don't know if this has always been the case, but it feels like it in a way feels like you don't hang on to the to-do lists or the things that you aren't doing in this moment. It feels like you are very collected, is one word that I would use, and that you're very much present. You're very much like in the moment when you're in the moment. And yeah, I want to acknowledge that, because to some degree, I find that's a discipline that most people don't have the fluency of practicing. Let me be present, or let me be attentive to the moment that I'm in, or focused on whatever it is that I am doing. So it seems that for whatever reason, or in whatever way, you have cultivated an ability to have a level of presence and focus. Obviously, with some of your work that you do, I know that's important, but yet even more so than other people in your field, it feels uh, the magnitude and level of your ability to do this is beyond what most practitioners in your field are doing. I'm not saying that they're not doing that with their patients. It's your level of doing what you bring to those interactions is so much more piercingly present. And okay, so I'm acknowledging that, and then I'm going to see where else we go, see what other information wants to come forth. All right, I'm going to do a little bit more of this meditative talking and leading us through some things. And I'm also starting to collect some images that are coming forth, but right now they don't really tell a story or make sense how they're connected. So I'm going to see as I sit with this some more, can I see more of what is there a story or a picture that this is painting? So if you'll take in another deep breath, and whenever you're comfortable releasing it. And with that deep breath, you're releasing all of the things that you want to let go, difficulties or traumas or pain or things that you've processed and released, any of those things that you're ready to let go and let them drift away. And taking in another deep breath and calling in all of the spirit guides, angels, ancestors, whoever, animals, beings seen and unseen, who want to be supportive, who want to offer you their guidance, who want to offer you their wisdom and support and their clarity and their information. I'm definitely getting a sense of, so before the call, I was getting this sense of things that you have either overcome or lived through and processed or healed from. Of to me, the nature of it felt like a shipwreck or two boats crashing in the water or a boat crashing into an iceberg. It felt very much like a crashing with a shattering of wood and water. And again, this is a metaphor. I'm not saying I think you literally were in a shipwreck.
It's my
But
past life from being on a Titanic or something.
Yeah, it feels like that type of energy, though. And it also, the other thing in conjunction with that, it felt like in your heart internally that it was like shocking and surprising and like the jagged edges of all this wood and debris and whatnot. So I definitely felt that has been something that at one point occurred in your life. It's not clear to me when, but it feels like within the last 2 to 4 years, but who knows? That's just my sense of that it wasn't actually that long ago. The other thing then, even though I see what feels like that happened, again, like I say, it doesn't feel that it's like that left its mark, but I also feel that you've healed from that. I feel a definite sense of like strength of either your voice or that you have the ability to speak the things on your heart. One of the things I feel that they're wanting me to bring up is that this is your time to be speaking the words on your heart. And I don't know if you ever, with your work or personal life, feel like, here's the philosophy I have about the world, that if people did this, we'd all be better off. But I get the feeling of if there's something like that that you think about, that this is a good time to be communicating that, and that it's kind of, this is your time, because you're, even if you don't feel that it's a polished message that you have, it just feels that you're probably more capable than you realize. And yeah, like this is the time. I also get the sense of everything's lined up energetically or with your helper, your unseen helpers, to be ready to help you in whatever, dispensing a message, making sure the right people hear it, whatever that looks like in terms of the actual way it'll manifest in the world. But it feels that there's this readiness both from your ability, spirit helping, and like now's the time of people need this, and you know this, not in a forceful pushing way of you better get to this, but more just so you know, like this is a great time. Yeah. Oh, sorry. And there's a little bit more. I'm going to share a little bit more, and then I'll give you a chance if you want to reflect anything, and we can go deeper too. But how do I say this exactly? I can see what you're wearing, and there's this, I don't really know exactly how to describe it, but I almost get this sense of, and again, I don't know if this is metaphorical or literal, but like this feeling of got a new outfit, feeling really good in your skin, feeling like the what you're presenting to the world is I'm sharp, I'm put together, I'm amazing. Look at this classic good looks. Like there, I definitely get this attention to like your good clothing and or like the look that you're presenting, and it feels
Mhm.
very classic and confidence. It also exudes the sense of confidence. So I don't know if you've recently bought clothes or if you love that sweater that you're wearing, but that was one of the first things I got after this whole shipwreck thing was just this great sense of the way in which your clothes and your look presents to the world feels like that also is opening doors, and it feels very integrated with your confidence.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
sweater is actually new. And it is actually like my favorite thing to wear right now. Like
Ah,
I basically try to live in this thing as much as I can.
awesome.
But I did. I actually bought new clothes within the last 4 to 6 weeks, maybe, and it was the first time that I ever went in and like just picked things that I thought I liked, went into the
Hmm.
dressing room with the intention of I'm going to try this on and I'm just not going to give a crap what anybody else thinks about it. If I love it, if I feel good in it, this is what I'm buying and this is what I'm wearing. It
Mm.
does tend to lean more towards more classic attire. Yeah, it feels like I'm starting to like step away more from things that I think other people will think look good on me and much more into
Right.
I'm going to step into my own skin and live in this.
Yes, I love
Hmm.
that. And how nice is that of self-care, self-love, all of that? Because
Hmm.
we could very easily live our whole lives and be like, this is what I've always worn, so I'll just stick with it, even though it doesn't really
Right.
fit my
Hmm.
vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
Yeah.
shipwreck thing was, I was chuckling because I was like, yeah, that's about right. And it was probably a little bit closer to almost 5 years now. Yeah,
Mm.
there was a pretty serious health issue that came up,
Mm.
and it really did feel like my entire life stopped.
Mm.
And it took a
Wow.
long time to really overcome that. But I think a lot of where I am now comes from the pain of the growth process through that
Yes.
sort of thing.
Wow. Yeah. I'm so sorry that you had to go through something so painful and dramatic. How about sorry, my microphone just, Whew.
It's fine.
Do you feel that you're a very present person as well?
I love that you
Okay.
said that. I even wrote it down, that piercingly present thing. And I think especially because of the fact that I work so much with people who have trauma,
Oh.
that like that is incredibly crucial for the work that I do. And so it
Mm.
was nice to get that affirmation that that was something that you were picking up on because it's something that I've worked very hard on for a few years
Hmm.
now.
Yeah, I can tell. And okay, now I'm getting some chills. Which, so when I get chills, it's telling me it's like you're on the getting warmer. So I think let's spend a few minutes talking about this because to
Hmm.
me, I get the sense of, so I see a lot of people. I love working with compassionate or visionary or like forward thinking. I don't know. I don't know how you want to
Hmm.
quantify it, but women who are making the world better, and men
Hmm.
too. But typically it's women who are
Sure.
working with me. And and I would say, I don't know if I've ever had a client who brought as much ability to have that type of presence or that I saw it so clearly, this presence that you
Mm.
have. So that's why I'm trying to say it's not just, I feel like you're in the top 1%. Sorry, that's the number, like somewhere between 1 and 5% in terms of
Mhm.
ability to do this. And it also makes me think, is there a potential, like I know you have the work that you're doing, but
Mm.
to work with providers to help them? I know that people can do it in moments, but it feels like I have found a way to carry it from moment to moment, or it's not just with the client or a patient or whoever. It feels that you have found a way to have staying power with it.
Mm.
Whereas I don't find that other people And I know it's a practice. Like, let's say if we just call it
Yeah.
mindfulness as a blanket thing, it's like, I
Hmm.
get that it takes work to have it more continuously. And yet I also feel like there must be some kind of nuance or quality or way that you found to tap into it that lets you be that present and moment to moment. And I don't know if it's from this health thing where it's like, if that was like such a radical kind of wake up call that it really brought
Mm.
everything into stark detail. But I don't know. What do you think about this?
I love the idea of really more just me taking more time to do that. I have found it to be interesting to talk to other practitioners and talk to them about like it's almost like the resiliency of the ability to be present.
Yes.
And I guess I haven't really taken a ton of time to think about what is it that I've cultivated or whatnot in order to be able to do that more. I do think part of it is what I've experienced in my own life has put me in a place of like being able to sit with people in the darkest corners
Yeah.
and walk away from that corner without carrying it with me. I think that's
Hmm.
more of like the key there is like being able to be present with one person after another is really about being able to be present with them and leave them and trust in their own resiliency and their ability. I don't know. I'm just theorizing right now.
Yeah. I don't know either. And I also think it's like, what is that expression? The people, the Inuits, I don't know if it's them or I think Eskimos maybe not considered the right term to use, but it's the one culture that has 14 words for snow, and they've developed that vocabulary. And I feel even though mindfulness is very popular right now, I feel like we still don't have the vocabulary, the nuances of, I don't know a ton, like I know therapists go through a ton of training and what they do. And yet, like I said, I see many and they're great. Like when I go to a therapist, I can tell they're being present with me. There's just another quality that you're bringing that if other people could learn, and maybe it is a way of connecting their experience with their growth and their trauma to the resilience to being with that person. I don't know how you would teach other people or talk about it or whatever, because again, it feels so, and it's also like, how do you talk about something that almost is hard to put into words? So who knows? Maybe it's an experiential practice of gathering some therapists where you are, if you have the desire or the ability, and almost bringing it to them. Hey, let's have a working mastermind project experiential think lab where this is what we're looking at and let's try and develop this. Or you bringing it to people and saying, look, I know I have this skill and I think other people could use this, but how do I get what I have to you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I like the idea. It's just figuring out the words to like go behind it and explain it and even teach it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe too, and maybe some of it. I like what you said about the resilience and how you don't take it away with you when you're
Mhm.
done, because that's a part of it. I think everyone, no matter who you are, if you're a human being, that we need more help with that letting go of the moment when it's gone.
Yeah.
Do you think you've trained either your mind or your emotions to be like, okay, the moment's over. I'm not with that client anymore. Now I'm moving on. Or is there a process you have, do you think?
No, I've attempted to have rituals before and after sessions. I have some different crystals. I have candles I enjoy. The candles I more just enjoy the warmth over my fingers or just the scent of them. Like it does,
Yeah.
as we're talking through this, I can say that I think one of the things that I've worked so very hard on in like just my own healing journey over the years has been to understand like the interconnectedness of humans in a way that is still like allowing space and autonomy for the other person in the sense of you can be upset about something and you can even be upset about something that I did, But if you're an adult, I'm going to trust in you to be responsible for your own feelings and be responsible with how you behave from your own feelings. I think that having that sort of view on things allows me to just go into session with clients, be present with them, and acknowledge the fact that this person is here for growth. This person is here for healing, but I am not wholly responsible for their choices or their feelings in a moment. I'm never there to do harm, obviously, and will always take responsibility for that. But I think allowing them the autonomy for their own growth journey maybe create some more of that space. I don't know. This is also interesting to just think about because I don't think I've thought about it this hard before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any desire personally to, I keep on thinking of intellectual property, and that phrase doesn't
Sorry.
normally come up, but
Yeah, no, that's so funny to me. Okay, keep going.
okay. I keep on thinking, do you want to develop this as part of your own intellectual property? Because to me, even though it's still yet undefined, it feels that's what it is or could be. And then once it's intellectual property, you choose what you do with it. Is it a book? Are you a speaker? You work with a college or a university or a certifying body, and whatever. Your own discretion once it's more like collated and in a thing. But I keep on hearing the phrase intellectual property as well, and maybe it's just this exploration of what is your, and if you don't like the word property, put in another thing there, but it feels that this is an area of scholarship or leadership that you could further develop and have all the nuances that you can articulate that would really be pretty cool.
I laugh at the fact that you use the word intellectual or the phrase intellectual property because I used to work in intellectual property. I specifically worked in patent prosecution.
Oh my gosh.
And essentially everything else that you mentioned, like books, speaking, like all of that has always been like the long-term plan.
Oh, awesome.
Is like really taking what I've learned and like personal philosophies of things. And books have always been like that will happen. There's no question about that. Speaking, maybe, most likely.
Yeah.
Working for a university, one point I would have done that, but I think at this point I've just personally gotten so fed up with red tape and a lot of the structures and systems that keep people out. So much so that like I recently launched my own research study.
Oh,
like
good.
without a university involvement. I'm just like, this is what I want to learn about because I'm a research nerd and I'm just going to do it. So
I love that. Yeah, that is so awesome. Oh, that's so cool. And I love to, it's funny. I don't know if I've ever talked about intellectual property in one of my sessions before. So I love that's your background. And so again, this is where I'm saying, if I go down a path and you're like, you're going too far, we can stop at any point or reel it in. But I can also see another cool possibility, depending on what you prefer with this and what you like, is in addition to you developing your own intellectual property, because you have that other insight about it, it could also be cool what if you took a cohort of 4 other therapists and you all are simultaneously developing your own unique intellectual property. Because a trend that I notice is there's a lot of people who, whether or not they go to counselors personally, in social media, the therapists who are presenting concepts for public education, I get the feeling like this is a trend that's going to continue to grow, and that when it's a way of serving many people in a non-one-to-one capacity. And so therefore then there's also other therapists who need to figure out, how do I write a book, or how do I develop this thing that I do and share it more broadly? So it could be, if you feel like it's within your capacity, because you have this background of the way things with intellectual property, as you're developing yours, you could find a bunch of other people who are also doing that and be like, let's all do it together. Then we can all cross promote or whatever, or at least as we have the stumbling blocks, we're not the only ones. There's 3 other people who are also stumbling with the nuances and the wording and whatever.
Yeah. I like that idea. That could be really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like that one's much more like distant.
Yeah.
That's more like a distant future thing for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we have a little bit more time. Do you have anything that this has either made you think about that you want to ask more about, or we could switch gears and do a whole nother area of your life? What are you curious about? Or is there anything you want to look more in depth into?
I don't know, maybe about my family.
Do you have do you have a partner and kids or extended family, or how does that all look? And or what would you like me to look at? Like how you can, I don't know, have a happier family or better, or what's coming up? Tell me a little bit more about if there's something you want me to, like what area of family.
I do have a partner and kids, and I guess it's more of just if you're getting anything about them or even extended family. Yeah, I didn't really come in with any specific questions at all today.
That's okay. All right. At this point, I'm not getting anything for your partner and kids. I'm going to look at extended family. And to me, not getting anything like, it seems like things are good, or there's nothing like pressing that you don't know about or that you're not already working on. So to me, it seems okay. That seems fine. I do get, and I don't know if it's one family member or one side of the family, I get a sense of, and this is probably just, I don't think this will be new information to you, but it feels like one person or part of your family, either, I don't know if it's like a smothering effect of, it feels like they're very much either overstepping boundaries or always pushing boundaries, or it just feels like we were talking personal space. They're like always in your personal space. And maybe not always, but it feels like they're just consistently, or at least in the past, if there's not boundaries, like consistently like pushing up against them. I also get this funny thing that I feel like on this part of my body with, I don't know if it's either they see things so differently than you do, or they want you to see things your way and are like super adamant about this is the way it is. And I wish you saw it this way. And anyway, it definitely feels like a very opinionated and infringing type of person who I definitely feel like is a presence that needs to be worked with, or that you are working with. I don't know if you feel like you seem like the type of person you would have set boundaries with this person, but I just get the sense of they still feel that way even with the boundaries. It's almost like that some people, even though I believe any person has the ability to change, it's also interesting to me that I will look at someone's energy and sometimes be like, yeah, I don't think they're going to change in the next 5 to 10 years. Like, we all have the potential, but some people just aren't interested in changing at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you have an overbearing family member?
Yeah, there's 2 that came to mind immediately. As soon as we started talking, I was like, it's them.
Yeah. And yeah, it doesn't feel, again, they might change one day, but it doesn't feel like they're going to change in the short term. And I also, like we were talking before about your clothing, I also get the sense too of the further you go with you being you, it's like subconsciously, I feel like it will trigger them or hate them, because it's just not either how they see you, or it's not understand that ability to wear what you want, or to speak what you want, or to have that type of leadership. It feels like it's just doesn't compute. And so their way of handling it is to be overbearing or vocal, or try and get you to see that your way is wrong, even though I don't think it is wrong, or it's not wrong for you. So that might be something to think about, but it might also not be surprising that.
It's not at all. And all of that's like really on point in describing them. Yeah. Can I ask one other question? it's like a
Yeah.
totally
And then
different shift.
after that, I'll have you give your evaluation of our time
Okay.
together. Yeah. Ask one more
Okay, cool.
question.
I've always gotten the sense that like I have some ability, like mediumship or psychic or
Mm.
something like that. And I'm just curious if there's anything that you're getting, any messages you're getting around that as to whether or not that is something for me or maybe not. Maybe I'm just experiencing deja vu.
Yeah, let me look into it. And I feel like the answer is probably yes. Because there was a thing your spirit guides were trying to tell me in the beginning, but it wasn't
Mhm.
coming through. But like the way in which they were coming through, it when I've had them come through, not yours, but other one, when the message and information is coming through like that with other people, it does often feel like sometimes I tell people, I can't hear this, but you could easily hear it, but it's
Mm.
just not. Yeah, so I'm going to look into this a little bit more, but that makes me think that's their way of being like, the information is there, almost like you turn on the faucet and the water will be there. That's the impression I'm getting. Okay. It's kind of like they have a normal option for you and then like a wild woman option. So yeah, I definitely get the feeling that the answer is yes. And
Mhm.
one of the things that they're showing me is it will feel easier for you to delve into it or to find your own fluency or whatever, to work with your own skill and ability if you create the structure and like you said before, like you played around with rituals. So they were giving me the idea of like a clear beginning and a clear ending and a place that you go. So it's create that container,
Mm.
then you can explore and experiment. So that's the normal version. And there
Okay.
is the request of that. And they didn't use the word normal, but and then the wild woman, and they did use the word wild, was you going out to the woods or whatever nature scapes are near you.
Mm.
And I got this feeling of almost letting yourself be in a place where you're not around other people and maybe you have a drum or a flute or a whatever instrument or maybe not,
Mhm.
but also that you are talking or singing in a way that if you started saying nonsense words, you don't care because you're just in the middle of a field where nobody else is anyway. So it doesn't really
Mhm.
matter. It felt very much like exploring what would be like this wild woman kind of primal thing and just almost letting yourself go there, babble's not the word they use, but just letting yourself see what comes out of your mouth or see, oh, I want to sing these Gaelic songs, or I don't know what. It felt very much that that's another path you could take, is really giving yourself a few hours or an afternoon where you've got your bag and whatever's in your bag that you need. Okay, so maybe there's a snack and maybe there's a journal and maybe there's enough battery and space on your phone. So if you want to record the babbling that comes out,
Mm.
and whatever to you feels like wild woman and ancestral, to me, it also has this feeling of when you picture ancient goddesses or some pre the industrial age and all that, not necessarily hunter gatherer, but something. But it could be like something from way back, like when you picture,
Mhm.
hey, this is what like the medicine woman of the tribe would do. Something like that. To me, it
Yeah.
feels like it's really, if you're comfortable with having animal skins of an animal skin bag or an animal skin drum or an animal skin pouch that holds your leather bound journal, like that type of what I would characterize as like really ancient qualities around exploring the expression of it, to me
Mhm.
feels like one of the ways that your soul would be like really delighted to explore. It
Mhm.
feels like it's in sharp contrast to like the classical like person in some other ways that you present, but it also almost feels like a compliment to it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And again, I know I'm still speaking very generally, but it's more like these are giving you qualities. And who knows, maybe you're like, okay, that's a little bit too like open-ended or way out there. So maybe you just have a corner of one of your spaces where you set up something and then you give yourself an hour and then you do it. And then after you've done that for a couple of weeks, you're like, okay, I'm ready to do the wild woman thing and go
Mm-hmm.
out to the creek or wherever, the cliffs or whatever environment speaks to you where you feel like, okay, I could be here and just sing or speak whatever comes out and let it flow and then see how I feel. And do I like it? Do I feel like I'm connecting? Yeah. And if I know there's people like at one point I might develop, I say might, I have plans at some point to develop my own program, but it's like you could go with a program that someone has developed, like myself or other people, where I get the sense of if you're comfortable with it, like you just dabbling on your own for a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, feel nice to just see what happens if I just drop any, not pretenses, but release any expectation that like I can't do it and just say, I want to see what happens, what comes forth, and let me just explore.
Yeah.
And again, if you're more comfortable learning from someone, great. But it feels like there's enough that's ready to be conveyed or spoken through you that if you
Mm-hmm.
want to dabble with it yourself and feel comfortable, that I think that would be really intriguing and interesting.
Okay. Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. I
Yeah, you're
appreciate that.
welcome. Yeah, sure thing. And who knows, maybe there's a person who does like a wild woman retreat thing, and maybe that's something you want to sign up for. I'm actually trying to think. There was a woman I follow. I'll try and see if I can find her info. She lives in Colorado, and last year, maybe it was this year, I noticed she was doing like a women's shama retreat type of thing. That could also be something perhaps to explore that route of somebody who's
Yeah.
doing something that's maybe it's a weekend in the woods. Might not be like camping, but where you're getting
Sure.
to get out there.
Yeah. That sounds great. Okay.
Yeah, great. All right. For the viewers, do you want to tell them? I know you shared a little bit already, but was this clear for you or clarifying or
Mm-hmm.
helpful? And yeah, your takeaways.
Yeah, I think it was helpful in the sense of I think I got a lot more confirmation and support, I think, for where I'm going, particularly in my career right now. Now it's got the wheels turning about, okay, what is 2023 really going to look like now? Now that I have a
Yeah.
little bit more like clarity and direction. So that's like really helpful. I really tried to come into this with like little to no expectations at all. So this was very pleasantly surprising and also not surprising. And just that, so there's a lot that came through that was like right on point. I loved the metaphor of the shipwreck because I feel like that really encapsulated so what I went through and
Mm,
what came of that. So that was really wonderful to have that come through and acknowledged, but also just like the intellectual property and the ability to use my voice and speak some degree of truth. That was a confirmation I was not expecting, but
mm.
was incredibly helpful to hear.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
glad.
Yeah. And I love, oh, I also wanted to say this too, that the wild woman piece, I think the description of it as like more of a compliment is to the classic sort of a appearance is right on point because when I have considered like really taking time to just get back to connecting within and really connecting with just the universe and spirit, it's always been in my head, the imagery is always outdoors in the woods, like
Mm,
just being very present in nature. So that
mm.
resonated very deeply when you brought that up.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. That is so
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yay. And I'm glad you got some good confirmations.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Awesome. And moving forward, you know where to find me.
I
So
do. I
if you
do.
like or want more confirmation in 2023 or have any other therapists or other colleagues who you think would benefit from a boost of clarity and confirmation, then yeah, then I'm here and would be delighted to be supportive.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rachel.
I'm so excited to tell you about the upcoming book, Talk to the Trees, written by myself, Rachel Strivelli, psychic. Talk to the Trees is a short book that's somewhat practical, somewhat metaphysical, totally amazing, very spiritual. And it's about connecting to the wisdom of the trees, actually, literally talking to them, metaphorically talking to them, learning from the wisdom of these elder beings related to what can we gain from them in terms of resilience, how to get through hard times, how to approach the times that we're in. You can buy it at the places linked below. I would love it if you check it out, share it with a friend, buy it for a friend, and spread the word.